Hello and welcome to Chessbook Reviews 156. Today I want to look at a system which is one time was peddled as a universal response. Nowadays it's not as well known as once it was. Do you think I should wear my glasses? What do you think? Better or worse? More forlorn? Or just keep taking them on and off to look thoughtful? Least ways. Let's look back in history. These are books which were very well known 50 years ago in English chess. It is, of course, the Pirc defense, also pronounced Pirc. Keene and Botterill wrote this book in response to inquiries from Bob Wade when Batsford's was new. Deals with systems with a kingside fianchetto, like in the King's Indian. The only difference being, and sometimes the two can transpose, but not very often, the only difference being that in the Pirc defense, you're defending against 1e4. It's a king pawn opening. And that's the important thing. In the Austrian attack, f4 comes. So white gets 3 pawns in the centre and often stakes up more territory. And it's black's intention to be provocative, to castle fairly early on, kingside, and then to wait for white to show his hand. This book was published in 1973, which in chess terms was more than a lifetime ago. And the companion volume, which I probably like slightly better, I certainly know slightly more, is the modern defense. Now in the Pirc you get d6 and knight f6, but in the modern defense you get g6 and bishop g7, and later other responses. This book, I think, also, this was first published in 1972, which was a glorious year for chess. Of course it was, because of Fischer Spassky. It has 15 chapters, including some pretty wild and wacky stuff. It's got some early essential feature of any system that we should clarify as the modern defense is that black should meet white's early occupation of the center by means of the fianchetto of his king's bishop. 1, pawn to king 4, pawn to king's knight 3, 2, pawn to queen 4, and as I said, bishop to knight 2, is the most ultra-modern defense at black's disposal. And it has history dating back to Anderson Staunton of London, 1851, and some games of Paulson's, both colours. And he had a game against his brother. Amos Byrne playing Louis Paulson, and Emanuel Lasker playing von Barlendale. There we are. Well, I think you'll find that this is all pretty interesting. And some games, or a game anyway, by Duncan Suttles, where he beat the player Barkazar, the Hungarian Grandmaster Barkazar, in a modern defense. And you can see on that diagram how white has to endure black throwing forward his pawns on the queen side. I have to say that I consider that writing books about the modern and the Pirc defense very, very difficult. I don't speak with any experience on this matter. This was also quite an old book, and it's falling apart, but that's only because it's been read and loved by the Czech as he was then. He moved to Germany, didn't he? Hort. Let's find out. This is published in 1979, and it's a good little book. I can't show it too well, but as I say, it's all. It also deals with the Gurgenitz system, where black plays c6 and d5, and frequently, though not always, h5. It's a good system. I recommend it, but it does require careful handling. But then again, most things do, don't they, really? So that's that, the modern defence. And all of this is leading up to showing you a much more up-to-date book, published by Cyrus, written by Cyrus, published by Gambit. Sorry, Everyman Chess. www.everymanchess.com. I do apologise, got the publisher wrong. Get into trouble for that. This was published 6 years ago. I thought it was more recent than that. Well, it's still worth your time. Doesn't mention the ones I've shown you, but it does mention several other very good books in the bibliography. With 1G6, we agree to enter a lightless place where only cockroaches, earthworms, and modern defence players dare enter. The modern defence is a job from which I have clocked in and out for 5 decades, and my first day on the job in 1969. Yes, it certainly became very popular around that time. And nowhere more so than in England, thanks to Keene and George Botterill and their successes. As I say, and I can only repeat, if you are a King's Indian player and you're looking for something to play, nothing would be more suitable for your style than the Pirc Modern. This is published by Everyman Chess, and it's a good book. I mean, all books are good, aren't they? But this is really something pretty special. Single columns, which you may prefer, slightly more relaxed format. There we are. And 66, I think I'm saying, annotated games, but with lots of notes and references to other games, as they always put in, and an explanation. And believe you me, battles can get hairy. Now, when I was talking about the Gurgenitz, there's an example of it. See, on the left, the pawns on G6, H5, D5, and C6. There you are. And white has set out his pawns in a triangle, trying to gain more space, which at the start he gets. But the point is, can you justify the space? Can you turn it into an advantage, materially, analytically? And that's where the fun starts, and that's why chess is as it is. It becomes a conflict. Well, this has been a very short YouTube. Please like and subscribe down below. I would be very grateful. Thank you very much. This has been Chess Book Reviews 156. And it is the 4th of December. Wishing you an early happy Christmas.